So he's in the clear then.
Aaron, yeah. Hubert, when you looked at the film from the Georgia Tech game, was there anything else that stood out to you about, the team's performance and, what you can take away from that?
Yeah, I mean, there's things on both ends of the floor. I think, from an offensive standpoint, just taking care of basketball, last couple games, there's been the first half where we've had double-figure turnovers. In the second half, we've taken care of the basketball. So, I don't know how many practices we've had, but I would say over 90% of the practices, offensive emphasis of the day has been make the easy play, limit turnovers. So we've got to do a better job at that. I felt like our rim finishes got to be just better. I feel like we've gotten to the rim, whether it's been in transition off of drives, offensive rebounds, just not finishing well. And so, we're getting to the rim, but we've got to be stronger and better at finishing around the rim. And, that's one of the few games all year that we didn't shoot the ball well from the free throw line. And then just defensively, I always talk to you guys about, my conversations with the team about, the discipline of the details, just defensively in terms of, technique on ball screens, box outs, talking on defense, contesting shots, scouting report, tendencies, and just the discipline and details. Those are things that need to be tightened up that consistently weren't tightened up in that game. But you just got to give credit to Georgia Tech for winning.
RJ and Armando said when you guys got back Tuesday night that there was a fairly long meeting in the locker room, and a lot of the focus was on sort of cutting the cord to that, moving forward with your thought process on Duke. How much a part of that meeting were you a part of, and if you were, how do you think that the meeting went?
I wasn't part of that meeting. We got back a little bit after 1 o'clock, and I came home and I watched the game over again and went to bed at 3:45. And so I wasn't part of that meeting. One of the things that I always do talk to the guys is that when there are moments of wind and rain and cloudy skies, you have a choice. You can stay down, you can point fingers, you can whine and complain and make excuses, or you can get back up and move forward and fight. For us, there's no choice. We get back up, move forward, and we join the fight. And I've always talked to them about the only thing that you really have control over is how you react and how you respond. And I know how this group will react, and I know how this group will respond starting with practice today.
Is them doing that an example of this group maybe just having a different layer than previously?
Again, not comparing previous teams, but them having a meeting, getting back, that doesn't surprise me. This has been a together group from the start since all of them stepped on campus. So hearing that they had a meeting when we got back and talked about our team, that's something that brings joy to my heart because this is their team. And for them to be able to do that, that does not surprise me at all.
How much easier do you think it is for them to respond off of a loss like that, considering who your next opponent is, being in the biggest game of the year?
No, well, again, I don't. Those are your words about the biggest game of the year. Those are not my words. We don't. Our preparation and our practice is no different for this game compared to prior to the Georgia Tech game. We have 10 more games left in the regular season, and our approach is to prepare and to practice to the best of our ability and to put ourselves in a position to play our best. It just happens to be that we're playing Duke on Saturday.
Hubert, Duke had some bumps in the road earlier in the season. Obviously, they've been hit hard by injuries, but does it seem to you like they're hitting their stride now, past few games?
Well, I think, they've always been a very good basketball team. I mean, injuries are always a part of basketball, and I don't, with the exception of Indiana in '76 that went perfect, there's always bumps in the road. So, I mean, I just, it is what it is. It's a very talented basketball team that obviously Filipowski, his ability to be able to score around the basket, draw fouls, get to the free throw line, and shoot from three, but also the spacing that they have. We've got 4 guys shooting over 40% from three, and so they feel very confident, playing very well, but we feel confident also.
What do you remember from your time playing Duke as, when you were here?
Just the same memories of when I played Maryland, Virginia, Clemson, Florida State. Tough games, competitive games. Played 3 times in the ACC final. Great matchups against unbelievable talent, but have the same memories of playing against NC State and Chris Corciani and Rodney Monroe and Tom Gugliotta.
Hubert, you mentioned 1976 in Indiana. Like, is that?
I was 6 years old.
I know you're joking a little bit there.
No, he really was 6.
Right.
I was 6, and that was the year that we won the Olympics, and my uncle was on the team, and I was in Montreal, and with Coach Ford and Mitch Kupchak.
And you rode back with the gold medals around
Yeah,
your
so
neck.
76
Some
was
of
a pretty
us
good
know
year.
the story.
Yeah, it was a pretty good year.
Thank you, Clint. Appreciate it. Well, I was gonna say, like, is that? I mean, is that an important lesson for now? That okay, you're not gonna go 20-0 in the ACC. Like, I mean, is that an important piece to just maybe mention or remind these guys it's okay that you lost an ACC game? Everything's not lost. Is that?
No, I think it's always important to focus on what is real. I'm not a narrative guy. I think things have shifted to narratives, which is a little bit of truth and a little bit of falseness. I'm not, it is what it is, and I focus on what is real. What is real is we're 17-4 with the most wins in the ACC total. What is real is we're 9-1. Currently, right now, we're in first place in the ACC. What is real is we have 5 road wins in conference, the most of anybody in our conference. What is real is it was 41 days between our last losses. That is real. And it is real that our next 2 games are at home. Let's focus on what is real. And let's just pull up our shoes, tighten our belt, put on our overalls, and get back to work and see what happens.
Hubert,
This
earlier
is
today,
Elliott's first opportunity on the stage.
No, I don't think so. We played Tennessee. There's a pretty good crowd
I
here.
meant specifically just Duke and UNC, just to be clear.
No, I know that. I know what you were
Yeah, not
trying to
to
say.
cut
I'm just saying that we've been on this stage before. We played UConn at the Garden. That stage was pretty good. Tennessee was pretty good. Everywhere that we've challenged, everywhere that we've played, the environment's been pretty good. I mean, you go to Georgia Tech on Tuesday, that environment was pretty good.
I was going somewhere else with it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Then go.
But, I know, I'm slow. When you were recruiting him, he was your first point guard, I think, that you recruited as a head coach. What stood out about him, maybe some of those intangible things that really, made you believe in him and made you want him to kind of be the guy?
Well, I don't know what your meaning of being the guy means. So
your point guard. He was the first point guard that you recruited.
well, we have a number of point guards. RJ's a point guard. Seth is a point guard. I want as many playmakers out there on the floor as possible. So we have a number of point guards and playmakers. But for Elliott, there's many things that I loved about him from the start. His toughness, his commitment to winning, how he celebrates the success of his teammates even more than his success. Obviously, his passing ability and his ability to be able to get to the rim and finish, make others better. He's always been about team, and that's something that I've always wanted in a player that just naturally puts team first, and that's what Elliott does every day.
you were, earlier today, John Shire was talking very complimentary about you and kind of the similarities and how much respect that he has for you in that you both followed Hall of Fame coaches at really high-profile programs. Do you kind of feel a kinship with him? And have you guys kind of compared notes, like when you're at Amelia Island or one of those, as to what it's been like and what kind of challenges there are?
No, I do. I have tremendous respect for John. I was a huge fan of his as a player when I worked for ESPN. He's continued that as a head coach. His ability to coach, but to connect with the players and pull out the best out of them on the court, in the classroom, in the community, is just what he's done in his first 2 years, which is absolutely fantastic. In regards to conversation and being able to spend time together to talk, you know, that's one of the things that I wish that us as coaches had time to do. We just don't have time to do that, and I just think it would be great where there was an environment where all of us can share stories and get to know each other and be able to spend time together. And but both of us have 3 kids. His are younger than mine, and but we got busy lives.
A little bit.
Coach, I'll be remiss if I want to ask you this question. You had to be about 4 or 5 years old, I'm thinking is, when your uncle made the bank shot in this game coming up.
Yeah.
Talk about that. He started talking about it all the time about whether or not he was aiming for the switch, but he ended up banking it in. Talk about that a little bit.
No, you know, it's interesting. My dad only allowed me to go to 1 camp per summer, and so I couldn't. You know, back then there was an AAU, and so the only camp that I picked was to come here to Coach Schmidt's basketball camp. And so every afternoon there would be a clinic by a former player, and every year it was my uncle, and they had him replay that shot. And I want to say 70% of the time he hit it. But I mean, that didn't surprise me. He's the best shooter that I've ever been around. I know people talk about Steph Curry, and he is, but I'm biased. My uncle was the best. I've just never seen anybody have a pull-up jumper like his, and so it doesn't surprise me that he hit it so many times in replay, trying to relive that moment that he sent the game into overtime.
Got time for a couple more.
Hubert, how have you seen Filipowski's game evolve this season, playing without Lively in the middle beside him and being the lone big on the floor for a lot of the time?
Yeah, you know, he's, you know, just his ability on the offensive end as a 5 is just very difficult because he can handle the basketball. He's a point guard. I mean, his ability to be able to pass, he can get a rebound, advance the ball up the floor, and make plays. Anybody with that type of size, he's aggressive, he can draw fouls, he can shoot from 3, he can post up, he can put the ball on the floor, so it's hard to get the ball out of his hands, hard to double him, because he can catch the ball and attack in so many different areas. And then on the defensive end, is just doing a really good job of, you know, he leads his team in blocks, but he's also doing a terrific job of defending without fouling. And so, you know, once again, he's one of the better players in the country, and he's having a terrific season, and he'll be a huge focal point for us on Saturday.
Hubert, you mentioned how you prepare for every game the same. How do you sort of square that with the obvious feelings that the players have and the allure of this rivalry? How do you sort of balance those two things?
Well, like our preparation, our practice, never changing it. You know, our practice today is at 2:45 on Thursdays, and it's always 2:45, and tomorrow will be 3:15, and it's always been 3:15, and we'll have a shoot around. And so just a routine and my message and the way that we practice, none of that changes. Obviously, you know, there's other things that are different around this game, and you can't keep all of it away because of this. But I think focusing on what is real, which is our preparation, our practice, and also all the conversation that we've had in the past about turning down the noise from the phone, the family and the friends and the basketball fans, and focusing on what is real. That's something that I'm just not talking about this week. This is something that I've talked about the entire year. And so I think they understand where we're coming from and, you know, what we need to do.
How does having game day here Saturday affect the routine?
It doesn't affect us at all. Our shoot around would have been at the same time, pregame meal, same time. That's noise. And not in a bad way,
Yeah.
but as I said before, you know, the guys have asked me, what is the definition of noise? And I said, anything that doesn't help you become a better player, a better person, and a better teammate. And as wonderful it is to having ESPN Game Day here, I don't see it helping us box out and defend Filipowski. I don't see how that helps us make a 3 or a free throw. And so, even though it's terrific, that's noise, and we just have to focus on what is real.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Hubert.